Hey everybody, welcome. I'm going to do a January 2026 recap of things I've read, thoughts I've had, who I am. I'm a newer booktuber channel. I'm an author, and I want you to kind of get to know me and what my tastes are and see if I'm kind of the right person for you to guide your reading along. I've wanted to make a YouTube booktube channel for years, for many years, but I've never really gotten around to it. I did a lot of other social media stuff with medicine and things like that. You may have seen my content on TikTok where I talked about medicine and COVID and stuff like that. I got so sick of doing that that I stopped making content like over a year ago. That stuff is still up on TikTok and Instagram, but I'm totally removed from that. Now I want to focus on what I really, really enjoy, which is fantasy and sci-fi, also a little nonfiction as well. A little bit about me. I'm a dad. I am a husband. I have two beautiful daughters. I'm a medical doctor. I work full time as a physician. I'm an anesthesiologist and a critical care intensivist. I work with ECMO and cardiac ICU, if you know what those things are. Don't worry about those things. And then I just have a passion for reading. I read lots of books every year. I read lots of sci-fi and fantasy, as I said. And then I write as well. I'm an author. I write science fiction. I write science fantasy. And I've been publishing books for about 10 years and stuff. And it's just a thing, a hobby that I just enjoy on the side. I have a passion for writing and for reading as well. The first book I want to talk about is Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon. This is the Roots of Chaos series. The first book is Priory of the Orange Tree, which you may have heard of. The second book, which is actually a prequel, is A Day of Fallen Night. And Among the Burning Flowers is another prequel into the series. Samantha Shannon is a dense writer. She can be hard to get into. These books are big, chunky books. Priory of the Orange Tree, I think, has a lot of haters and a lot of lovers. I'm a lover. It's one of the best fantasy series I've ever read, honestly. But it's hard to get into. And the first book I started with was Priory of the Orange Tree. And as I started reading that, the prose was so flowery, it was so dense. I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. But I got halfway through the book, you realize the characters are just so complex, so interesting. The relationships are so intimate and compelling. And then the overall plot and the writing, it just worked so well for me. And then A Day of Fallen Night is a beautiful, 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 incredible book. And then this last book is it's a short novel, maybe it's a novelette. And Samantha Shannon wrote it, Among the Burning Flowers, as kind of a easy entry point into her series. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It left a couple of plot points kind of flapping in the wind, which I didn't like. I didn't like that very much. I don't think it's the best entry in the series. I think if you actually read this first, even though it's shorter, it might sour you on the series because there's a lot of detail and there's a lot of stuff about the world that I really enjoyed because I knew the world. But if you don't know it, you might just be like, I don't like all of this detail. This isn't interesting to me. So I'm actually going to go against the author's advice. I don't think you should read this first. I think the first book you read in this series should be either Priory of the Orange Tree. You also can read A Day of Fallen Night first as well. I think you should start with A Day of Fallen Night. The next book I got to in January was Fool's Errand. It's the third trilogy in the Realm of the Elderling by Robin Hobb. I absolutely loved the first trilogy, the Farseer trilogy. It's one of my favorite fantasy series I've ever read. And then I got into Lifeship Traders. Guess what? I didn't really like it. I'm in a minority here. I didn't like Ship of Magic. I read it, I finished it, and I was like, this is so different from the first trilogy. I skipped the second two books in Lifeship Traders. I just wasn't into the characters. I wasn't into the story. I skipped it and I went right into Tawny Man. Guess what? Zero regrets. Zero regrets. Fool's Errand goes back to Fitz. It goes back to the original trilogy. He's older, it's later, and it is incredible. Fool's Errand, the first 30% of the book is just him in a cabin. And I loved it. That is a testament to how incredible Robin Hobb's writing is, how compelling she is how good that was. Fool's Errand was an amazing, beautiful, heart-wrenching book. Truly, truly. I loved it so much, I immediately jumped into the next one, which is Golden Fool, which I never do. Just like many fantasy readers, I'm reading like 10 series at any time, and I'm always alternating my books. I usually don't read them right in a row, but I did for this. I went into Golden Fool. I finished that in January, and I loved it. It was definitely a very middle book. After I read that, I took a break with a short book by Philip K. Dick. Flow My Tears, Said the Policeman is what it's called. I've been on a big Philip K. Dick the last year. I've read 4 or 5 of it. Read U-Book, of course, Robots Dream of Electric Sheep, Scanner Darkly, The Man in the High Castle. Flow My Tears was really good. There's something about Philip K. Dick that just gets in my brain, and I'm so compelled to read him. He's such a unique writer. Reality just melts. It just falls apart with every single one of his books, and it's so interesting. And he gets really intimate with different ancillary characters that then have to do that roll into the plot. And it's just, I am just obsessed with Philip K. Dick lately. I kind of want to read his entire catalog, and it's lengthy, it's big. Flow My Tears is a great first book to read from Philip K. Dick. After Flow My Tears, I jumped into Sun Eater 7, The Shadows Upon Time by Christopher Ruocchio. This came out in November of 2025. I'm almost done with it. I'm at 90% of the book. I'm beginning to finish it like tomorrow. And I'm going to do a whole video about Sun Eater series. It's good. It's good. It's really good. It's one of the best space series I've ever, sci-fi series I've ever read. It truly is very, very good. Christopher Ruocchio is an incredibly talented author. The tale of Hadrian Marlowe is amazing. If you're on the fence about starting it, you should. Give Empire of Silence, the first book, a shot. And then if you thought that was okay, that's fine, because it's the weakest. The first book is the weakest in the series. Then go to Howling Dark. And then read into the third book, Demon in White. Demon in White is amazing. You will just be the political intrigue, the drama, the arcane mysteries of space and time. So much stuff comes together. And it's a phenomenal series. And as promised, I just want to briefly touch on my nonfiction reads. I read The Fort Bragg Cartel by, who was that by? Seth Harp. This book is about Delta Force pathology, people in Delta Force or Special Forces in the United States, and all of around Fort Bragg, all of the controversy. It's an investigative journalist piece, and it is truly a shocking book about corruption, sweeping crime under the rug, protecting criminals within that system. I read Things in Nature Merely Grow by author Lee. This is a really, really tragic, difficult book to read. It's a book about a writer, a professor at Princeton. Both of her young sons committed suicide 6 years apart, and it is about her experience with that. It is maybe not what you were expecting. It's not a book about triumphing over sorrow or acceptance. Maybe radical acceptance. It's a book about living in perpetual grief. I do think it is a good book for those that have loved ones that have died from suicide. I think it's a book that could help you at least be able to sympathize with someone, a mother who has been through that. It's a short book. I listened to the audiobook, and I do recommend it. My last read from January was Hamilton, by Alexander Hamilton by Chernow. This is a biography of Alexander Hamilton. This is one of the absolute best books of early America I've ever read. I'm not a big American Revolutionary history buff. I like 20th century American history. I like 19th century American history too. The Revolution in that early era, I haven't read it enough, and it just doesn't interest me enough for various reasons that I can get into later. But this really changed my mind. It's about Alexander Hamilton, but it's about the early America and how it started, the Revolutionary War, the formation of the first government, the first cabinet. Alexander Hamilton was a very brilliant, if very flawed man. He basically created Wall Street. He basically created most of the government institutions along with James Madison. He created the Navy. He created the VA system, kind of. He was the first treasury. He leveraged debt. He took all of the state's public debt and he leveraged it and turned it into a liquid asset for the government. He basically cobbled the United States together along with George Washington in that first presidency. He's a fascinating figure. And I highly recommend this book. It will blow your mind how much the founding fathers of the United States hated each other. Jefferson and Hamilton absolutely hated each other, and they basically formed the first kind of divisive political parties right from the beginning. Incredible book, incredible. Anyway, I'll wrap it up. Thanks for joining me. Please subscribe if you enjoy my content. I plan on making lots and lots of content. Give me suggestions about books to read, things like that. Take a look at my website. It's wickwelker.com. You can take a look at my author stuff. I write science fiction and science fantasy. I've won some awards. Check it out. No pressure. And then, as I said, I'm a medical doctor. I'm an anesthesiologist and I'm a critical care intensivist. I do ECMO and cardiac ICU and all this very intense stuff. I do a podcast called ICU Doc Talk. You can check that out if you're interested. Please subscribe, share, and follow along. Thank you.